Oh my gosh, you made it to the end. It's day 11 of the Debt Demolishing series. Let's go.
The Debt Demolisher TV with Sophia Melone.
Hi, everyone. It's Sophia Melone, the Debt Demolisher, here to bring you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you manage your financial baggage the right way. Let me celebrate you for making it to the last day, because we are now on day 11 of the Debt Demolishing series. Give yourself a round of applause. Give yourself a pat on the back. Acknowledge yourself for the work that you have done throughout this entire now 11-day series. I want us to close it out with this last and final step that I took in order to help me get out of over $330,000 of debt. And I'm sharing this because this is it's not a probably, this is for me, it was for me the most important step that I had to take, and the most important step that I had to be consistent with. Before I jump into the step, let's just refresh what you've been able to cover. So from day one, we talked about how to gain insight and knowledge from financial platforms so that you can be able to get wisdom that you may not necessarily have known before. Day two, or step two, we talked about facing the reality of your situation and what ways in which you can do that in an easy method. Day three, step three, we talked about how to actually identify your money patterns, looking at your activity to see how are you spending your money. Step four, day four, we talked about not only establishing a budget, but operating from it consistently. Day five, we talked about the fifth step, whereby I had to put a halt on my credit card usage and or strategically charge things on my credit card in order to make sure that I was not overspending by using the credit card. So step five, you could either stop credit card usage altogether, or you can be strategic in knowing which activity you will allow to hit your card that you already have accounted for inside of your budget. Day six, we talked about the sixth step of how to increase your income when you're along on this journey. Step seven, it was all about scrubbing those expenses, getting down to the nitty gritty and really doing an assessment to see, do I even need this expense? Am I even using this expense? How is it benefiting me? And why am I even paying for it? Step eight, day eight, we talked about how to conserve energy, how to conserve and save on your utility bills. Step nine, day nine, we talked about the importance of saying no, the importance of putting limitations and maybe caps on events or things that you may constantly get invited to by friends or family or loved ones. And you have to decide whether or not if this is something where you want to go or not go, and see how you can repurpose those funds. Yesterday, day 10, we talked about how to become a minimalist, how to cut back, how to really trim those expenses even further to see how you can repurpose those funds to either put it towards your debt or use it to build your savings. And now we are at day 11. We are on the final step that I took and that I utilized as a consistent practice. All of these steps actually were a consistent practice, right? Because it's about repetition in order to be able to really see the results. But the 11th step, that is certainly not the last step, was first, I always paid my tithes and gave offerings. And giving offerings could not only just be to a charitable organization, it could be to a person, it could be to someone in need, it can be to whoever you really want to feel like giving from the heart cheerfully and freely through. I tell you, paying my tithes and incorporating that into my budget was a game changer for me. And I'm talking about a tenth of the gross. I'm not even talking about the whole net thing. And when I tell you guys that I was tested in this period, I was tested in these challenges, I was tested in these times, because there were times, like I said, where income was wiped away. Literally, a one source of income that I was banking on disappeared. One source of income that my mama was banking on disappeared. And so that literally meant that I had to pay for everything, everything. And of course, that threw a wrench into my plans because it got tight. It got really tight. It got so tight that I was like, oh my gosh, how is this going to happen? And I tell you one thing, that did not stop me from paying my tithes every time I received a source of income, regardless of what the source of income was. I can share this testimony real quick. And I normally tell this when I am like speaking, delivering a workshop or something along those lines. And I remember the time when my mom's Social Security had gotten cut off. And we were banking on that little bit of coins she was getting, that little bit of coins, it was helping, right? And when it got cut off, that's when things got really tough. It got really tough because I had to pay for every single bill that she had and then every single bill that I had. And I remember one Sunday being in service and, you know, my pastor, he was preaching a sermon and I don't know what came over, but I just felt like the pastor was speaking directly to me and over my situation because he was just like, every bill is going to be paid. And I'm at the altar crying, falling out, you know, or not at the altar. I think I was in my chair, in my seat. I was crying and just boo-hooing in the congregation. And I just didn't understand, like, oh my gosh. And I said, despite all of that, you know, despite all of that, I just knew, I just felt like the pastor was talking to me. And we got to the part where it was time to do offering. And I just felt my body like, I have to say something about this. I just felt this burning desire, like I needed to get up and speak. I needed to get up and speak. And so this was right before they called the ushers up to collect the offering. And I think it was either before the prayer or after the prayer. And I asked, I said, please, can I come up? So they allowed me to come up to the front. I came up to the front and I had expressed what was going on. So I didn't tell a lot of people what was going on, like financially with my mom's situation and how her Social Security had gotten cut off or any of that. Because I normally keep things to myself. I don't really talk about that stuff. But I was led to share this testimony or share this struggle, because it wasn't a testimony yet. It was a struggle. Okay, it was a struggle. And so I remember going up in front of the congregation, crying. I wasn't crying hysterically, but I could feel the tears bubbling up, trying to get myself together. And I said, you know, I've been a faithful tither. This is what I remember. I said, I've been a faithful tither. And I said that right now in the season, things are really hard financially. You know, finances are tight. And then I just started bawling. And I looked at the pastor and I was like you said, every bill's going to be paid and da-da-da-da-da. And I just started bawling, right? And then before I sat down, I looked at the congregation because I had my tithes in my hand, and I looked at the congregation. I said, you know, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how tough it gets, just honor the Lord. Just honor the Lord. Just honor the Lord. Pay your tithes. And I sat down, right? I sat down, let it go. Nothing happened, you know, went on by my business, went on home, carried on about my day. The next time I went to church, that morning, I told myself, I'm going to tithe to where I want to go, right? Not based on what I'm making. I want to tithe based off of what I want to make or where I'm on what I'm on my way to making. So let me tell you guys what happened. I tithe above and beyond what the 10% is, because I said I want to tithe to where I want to go. I wrote my tithe payment, went on, you know, because I normally do my stuff in advance. I had everything already set. Going to church, you know, we doing service, whatever. At the end of service, you know, we're fellowshipping and all of that stuff. And my co-pastor comes up to me after service and grabs my hand and says that someone wants to meet you. And I'm like, somebody want to meet me? Like, for what? But I'm like, oh, okay. So she pulled me away from the person who I was talking to. She held my hand. She walked me over to this woman. I've never seen her a day in my life. I've never met her a day in my life. Didn't know anything about her. But my co-pastor walked me up to this woman and basically said, you know, Sophia, this is such and such and such, this is Sophia. And then we were talking and my co-pastor walked away. So this woman says to me, I heard your testimony at service the other day. And she said, no, let me rephrase. She said, I heard your testimony the other Sunday and it touched me so heavy. She said, I know exactly where you are because I've been a caregiver to my mother. So I know how it is managing, you know, multiple responsibilities and juggling finances for 2 households. And she said, I have this for you. She grabbed my hand. She said, I have this for you. She grabbed my hand. She put it in my hand. I didn't see what it was, but I just heard her say, if your name is spelt wrong, let me know and I will rewrite the check. Hear me out now. She said, if your name is spelled wrong, let me know and I will rewrite the check. Y'all, I couldn't even look at the check because I started bawling, crying, saying, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I don't even know what the amount was. I don't even know like anything about it, but just the fact that God dropped resources right there that quick in an instant in my hand when I wasn't expecting it. It was a suddenly move. Did you hear me? A suddenly move. So I'm bawling, crying, I'm snotting, crying all over the lady. I don't even know her. I'm holding her, hugging her. This was years ago. So this is pre-COVID, right? It's pre-COVID. So I'm just like an emotional wreck and I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it. I had to get myself together. And then, you know, finally I make my way out of the church, you know, after all of that, and I get in my car. And when I get in my car, I open the check. And let me tell you guys, the amount of the check was the exact same dollar amount to the penny that I paid in excess of tithes. So remember I told y'all that Sunday I walked in there saying I want to tithe to where I want to go. So I tithed above and beyond. Above and beyond. And the check that I got in my hand from that woman was the exact same amount that I paid in excess of tithes. So you can't tell me. And she spelled my name right, so she had to rewrite the check. Come on, somebody. So listen, I'm telling you, when you honor the Lord and you give with a cheerful heart and not a stingy heart and not I don't know if I can do this, you got to be willing. Because I'm telling you, the Lord will drop a suddenly on you that's going to knock you off your socks. Going to knock you straight off your socks if you trust him. And I said this in another video that I did about bouncing back. I shared in that video that me paying my tithes is a form of trust. It's my communication of trust to God, that I trust him in my area of finances, trusting that he's going to provide every need, especially financially, when it comes to the situation and the dynamics that I am experiencing. And time after time after time after time, he has proven me. He has proven me when I am obedient in that area. When I'm obedient in that area, he drops a suddenly, a suddenly. And I even have another example, y'all. So more recently, I'm coming out of this space of, I've come out, I'm coming out. I've already come out claiming it right now. I've come out of this period of depression because of the stress and the fatigue and the challenges, the severe challenges that I was facing while caregiving for my mom while she was physically here in my home. And I just checked out. I checked out. In that bounce back video, I even shared like how I didn't pay anything. I was just out of it. I just didn't have the energy. I didn't even want to pay my tithes, none of that. I hadn't paid my tithes in 2 months. And once I got out of that pool, and once I, started to regain myself, because the dynamics changed in my household. I started going to therapy. I started going to life coaching. I started going through trauma healing and all of these things. And I started getting into the word. Come on, somebody. I started getting into the word. And once I got into the space of, okay, let me bounce back. Let me go back into my routine of going into my budgets, checking my budgets, paying my bills, paying my tithes. So I made a decision to back pay my tithes on the morning of August the 31st. Okay, because I had already set the intention. I had already set the intention that Sunday. I did a strategic move, which was why I waited until the 31st, but I can share about that later. But I waited until the 31st. I said, okay, on the 31st, I'm gonna pay my back tithes. I'm just gonna get caught up on everything. So the 31st, the morning came. As soon as I finished my quiet time, I logged on to my account, or I just went on the internet, actually pulled up my church's profile, and I just paid my back tithes, right? Whole amount. So whole amount. It was a pretty penny, y'all. Pretty penny. It wasn't no tiny coins, because it was 2 months worth of tithes. So I made the payment, went on about my day, didn't think anything of it, just working, doing what I do. And I close my night out. I go to bed. I go to bed that night. I wake up the following morning. At this point was September the 1st. I wake up that following morning, and when I check my notifications, I have a YouTube notification from Mr. Tony Gaskins saying, hey, because he responded to one of my comments. And I comment on his channel all the time, but I never think anything of it, because if I'm listening to something, I find something funny, I laugh about it. Or if I'm listening to something and I agree with it, I'll chime in. Or if I'm listening to something and it touches me, I do my prayer hands. And so I just never think of anything about it. I just comment, if I feel led to. And he replied to this comment and was like, wow, like, that's awesome. Like, I would love to do a call with you for my group. And I was like, what? Like, it shocked the bejesus out of me. I was like, what is going on? Like, what is this about? Like, what? Suddenly. And then the next thing you know, we doing an interview the next day. All of this coordination is going on, and then boom, we do the interview, and then boom, it's just so much going on. He's letting people know about me, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, so much happened just that fast. It literally scared me, and scared me in a good way. Like, that entire, how all of that happened, I was just like, what is going on, God? Like, what is going on? And I know that it was divinely led, right? Because I know Tony, he don't just talk to anybody, or, bring anybody, introduce anybody on his platform and stuff like that. He's very spiritually led. So for all of this to happen, it just shocked me. Like, and it all happened the moment after I got back into my trust communication with God by releasing those funds and back paying my tithes. So I don't know what your belief is, your faith is, whatever you consider a tithe to be. I just want to challenge you to do that. Whatever is your form of tithe, do it from a place of heart. Do it from a place of cheerfulness. Do it from a place of consistency, because the Lord will bless you. He will bless you, and you won't even see it coming. You won't even see it coming. And so not only is the fact of tithing can be a sense of a blessing, because I don't want people to think like, oh, if I tithe, then I'm going to get this. No, your motive's not right. You got to think about what it means to you and the principle behind it. And another important thing about tithe is that it teaches you discipline. It teaches you how to prioritize. That's really the main structure and the framework to manage your finances. Because if you can't pay a tenth, if you can't give a tenth back, and you have 90%, what's going on? What's going on? If you have 90% of your income, I mean, yeah, we got taxes and all of that kind of stuff, but there's different things that you could do to be strategic about that, to minimize that. That's another conversation for another day. That's probably going to be related to a consultation, because tax advisement is a specialty. Nonetheless, you have to think about it from that perspective. Tithing is a money management tool. Tithing is a method for you to be able to prioritize your funding. So how are you prioritizing your funding? That is my challenge and my growth work for you to think about. What does the tithe mean to you? What does the tithe look like to you? And how are you doing in honoring the tithe? Whatever that tithe look like to you. I'm not saying you have to give to a church. I'm not saying you have to give to this person. I'm not saying you have to give to a pastor. I'm just saying, honor the Lord with your first fruits. Honor the Lord with your first fruits, whatever that means. So for me, off top, automatically getting a tenth, off the top. And then I pay me. And then once I pay me, then I pay everybody else. That's my order. Pay God, pay me, then pay everybody else. So what is your order? What is your current order? And then what do you want your order to be? So I want to challenge you with that as we close out this series. This was an exceptional ride. I really hope that these past 11 days has served you well, has given you something to think about, not only giving you something to think about, but giving you some action to take. Each day within the series, I had given you a specific task and an action step that you can do. And whether you chose to do it or not speaks to your ability to be able to move forward in this journey. And so, as I said in a couple of days throughout the series, is if you are having an emotional barrier moving through this thing, you need to talk to someone. You need to talk to someone that can connect with you. You need to talk to someone that can help you break down those barriers. You need to talk to someone that can help you make one little step away from the step where you currently are. And sometimes that just takes a conversation. Sometimes that just takes a coaching session. Sometimes that just takes a therapy session. So you have to decide, who do you want to speak to, or who can you speak to help release some of these emotional barriers that's coming up for you as it relates to making decisions and actions toward your debt freedom journey that may seem very, very, very difficult for you to do. I have a link in the bio that has where you could contact me, how you can request a session if you need one, how you can submit questions to me via email, if you need a clarity session, if you want a one-on-one coaching session, if you just want to be able to say, okay, help me come up with a strategy. I'm available to you for that. But you have to be willing to come all in. You have to be willing to play 100%. Because in this game, it's about emotional financial healing. Emotional financial healing so that you can make the next step. Some people are really good at doing it alone. Some people can take everything I shared over these past 11 days and get to work like it's nothing and start seeing results. Some people, on the other hand, they're going to need a little bit more hand-holding because there was some emotional trauma that they've experienced in their financial life that they have not healed from. So if this is you, release that. Accept that, acknowledge that, and then choose to do something different. And know that you have people, resources, coaches that are available to support you. You just have to want the support. And the only way that those who are available to support you can support you is if you reach out and let them know. All right. I know I just went on a sermon today. Woo! I just went on a sermon. That is it for the entire Debt Demolishing series. I know that we went in. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for giving feedback. Thank you for showing me that you are in the room. You are taking notes, that you're in action. Thank you for just listening. Even if you didn't want to say anything, you just listen. Just hit the like button and just let me know so I can know that at least y'all were hearing me out, because I love this. I love speaking to this, and it just really pours into my mission of feeding families to break financial bondage, feeding families to break financial dysfunction, feeding families to break the bondage of debt. You deserve better. Your legacy deserves better. Your children deserves better. Your dream deserves better. Don't allow anxiety, fear, trauma, pain, resistance to keep you where you are. Don't let it. All right. So remember that your financial prosperity awaits you, and so does your financial sanity. Make sure that you still continue to come back tomorrow. I'm introducing a new series tomorrow. I'm not going to announce it yet. You just got to come back and find out. So I love you all. Have a great night, and I will see you wherever you are in the next session. Have a good night. Bye.
The Debt Demolisher TV with Sophia Melone. The Debt Demolisher TV with Sophia Melone. The Debt Demolisher TV with Sophia Melone.